Virtually all of Stanford's undergraduates live on campus.
Bruh.
That did not age very well. Hey guys, so a couple days ago I posted a YouTube video which was me reading my Common App essay in the hopes that some of my tips and or Common App essay would help people who are currently writing theirs. If you haven't watched that yet, I'll put the link down in the description. Go ahead and do that. Today I'm going to be reading my Stanford supplemental essays. When I applied to Stanford, I had to write like 8 or 9 supplemental essays, I think. And these were actually like really enjoyable to write. Like they were smaller and shorter than like the actual like big Common App essay. And I found that I was able to be a lot more creative and like be a lot more funny with these. So today I'll just be reading my Stanford supplemental essays, but I'm sure you already knew that when you clicked on this video. Awesome. I'm just gonna go through each of the prompts and then say what I wrote for each of the prompts, and then after I read what I wrote, I'll try to go through my thought process on how I came up with this specific answer and any general tips I would have for people who are currently answering these supplemental essays for Stanford. Before we begin, I do have like one general piece of advice for anyone writing their supplemental essays. So Stanford has a lot of supplemental essays, and this gives you a really good opportunity to write about very different and distinct parts of your personality that may not be captured in your main Common App essay or in like your stats and grades. Make sure to use these supplemental essays as ways to show that you're funny or like you're witty or like you're charming or whatever, but just use these essays to show that you have very distinct personality traits and to just help yourself stand out a bit more. So the first essay prompt is briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work or family responsibilities. 50 to 150 words. Will you go out with me? Those were the opening words to my TED Talk, Why You Should Ask Out Your Crush, at the Dayton TEDx Youth Conference. Standing on the stage and hearing the thunderous applause, I felt ecstatic because people chose to listen to my idea. However, the excitement I felt was surpassed 7 months later when my video reached 6,000 views. Nothing compared to most viral videos. I shouted with glee as I read through the 55 comments. People commented how they asked their crush out because of me, how they were dating someone now because of me, and how they got rejected but felt more confident in themselves because of me. While I certainly was not the sole motivating force in their lives, this experience showed me that my ideas possess the power to influence the lives of people around me. An idea that I cannot forget. During the spring of my junior year, so like March 2019, I gave a TED Talk titled Why You Should Ask Out Your Crush. And if you look it up on YouTube now, it almost has 1 million views, which is like astounding. Like it took like 6 or 7 months to get to 6,000. But then literally, I think this November, like the past November, like in the span of 2 or 3 weeks, it hit like 900,000 views, which was absolutely incredible. And I'm just like really glad that happened. So at the time of writing this essay, even though my video still probably only had like 6,000 or 7,000 views at the time, I still thought giving like a TED Talk was one of the coolest things I'd done in high school, and so I just wanted to talk about that more. So my original idea for this essay was to write about my experience working inside of an ice cream shop. I was going to write about how working at an ice cream shop made me just a lot more empathetic and kinder towards people who work behind food counters, like the lunch ladies or people who work at McDonald's or Chipotle. Like now I try to actively go out of my way and just like be very nice and give them like very good vibes, because like I know that like standing and just helping people get food, like I hated that job. Like I'm not gonna lie, I could just be lazy, but I absolutely hated that job. I thought it was tiring and I thought it was boring, and so now I feel very greatly for people who do that. So that was my original idea, and I was told by a couple of different people that I thought it was kind of generic and bland. So I just figured that I should talk about my TED Talk at the Dayton TEDx Youth Conference. So my 2 pieces of advice for this are: write about something that's unique. Do not write about working at an ice cream store or just working at a very basic job. I don't recommend that. At the end of the essay, I kind of included this idea that like the knowledge that my ideas could actually change the people around me impacted me, and like that's something I learned that I couldn't forget. So whatever you end up choosing to write about, make sure that you include in some way how doing that activity has changed you specifically, or like your outlook on life, or has given you new ideas. So I think those 2 things are really important when considering writing this essay. So the next supplemental essay is: what is the most significant challenge that society faces today? 50-word limit. The world is divided in 2. Democrats versus Republicans, theists versus atheists, anti-vaxxers versus everyone else. Tribalism has made us more closed-minded and cold-hearted than ever. Solving the problems that plague the world are subordinate to the idea that we are right and they are wrong. So I'm gonna be honest, my answer was really basic. Like I feel like if you live in America and like you at all follow politics, you will hear so many people complaining about like the polarization of America, or like tribalism and how that's really bad. I didn't know what else to write about. I tried to include like the anti-vaxxers versus everyone else joke to kind of show that like I could be a little bit funny. I don't think it was that funny of a joke though, but like even then, like I didn't know what else to write about. I would not advise someone to write this essay, but I did. So if you end up writing this essay, or like you end up picking like a basic problem, I don't know, try to add like a joke or some line that makes it seem like you have an actual personality somewhere within the essay. This essay was definitely one of my worst of the supplementals that I had to write. I honestly just don't think it's that good. So the next supplemental essay is how did you spend your last 2 summers? 50-word limit. From sunrises with the Breakfast Club to stargazing with the Westlock Wastemen to competing in the USA Junior Beach Volleyball Championships, I cherish spending time with my friends. However, carefree leisure was balanced with 20-hour work weeks, scooping ice cream, and precious alone time spent reading and filming YouTube videos. Did I actually work 20 hours a week at my ice cream job? Who's to say that I didn't? Regardless of the 100% validity of that, it's what I wrote. In all honesty, I probably worked between 10 and 20 hours a week. There's not much I can say about this one because like your essay is obviously going to be completely different than mine. Unless you've been like tailing me for the last couple of years. Really try to include different parts of your personality that you didn't already include in your application. Like if you already wrote about like a research opportunity that you had at like a college or something, I would not just include that here. Like include things that you like to do in your free time. Include productive ways you spent your summer, but don't just make it about being productive during the summer. Realistically, they know that you did things other than just grind really hard during the summer. So I would just recommend try to include as many like fun, interesting things you did as possible without repeating things that you've already talked about in your application. What historical moment or event do you wish you could have witnessed? 50-word limit. Accepting his fate, Socrates drinks the poison, his convictions as strong as ever. Sitting there, I do not witness the death of a man, but the rebirth of the eternal question. Why? An instinct that pervades the mind of every revolutionary thinker, an urge that cannot be stopped, even by death. Ooh, actually, okay, so I think out of all my supplemental essays, I think this one's my favorite. This one was the hardest one for me to come up with an answer to. I'm not a history person by any means. I don't really care about history. And so this one was kind of hard for me to like think of. And the way I came up with it is like I have a really big interest in philosophy. So I'm like, ooh, that's cool. What are like some major historical philosophical events that have happened, you know, in history? And eventually I thought of Socrates and how he drank the poison to kill himself. And I was like, ooh, that's really symbolic. So I just kind of ended up choosing to write about it. Fun fact, so if I actually had like the chance to go back and like witness some moment in history, I would go back to 2016 and watch this movie in theaters called Your Name, or Kimi no Nawa. So basically, I'm gonna weeb out for a moment, but like this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it came out in 2016 and it became like the highest grossing anime movie literally ever. Everything about it is so good. Like the soundtrack's phenomenal. The artwork is literally gorgeous. The artwork in this movie, like pictures from this movie are literally the background on my phone and on my computer. And there's posters of it in my room. I didn't ever see it in theaters in 2016 because I didn't know it was a thing until like 2017 probably. And like, so I just never got to see that movie in theaters. And it has always been like legitimately one of my life's biggest regrets that I was not able to watch this movie in theaters. The experience of watching that in theaters surrounded by a bunch of people who also love anime and like we're watching this movie that none of us knew would become like just a huge international like phenomenon. That would have been so cool and I never got to do it. So that is like, if I actually got to go back in time and witness a historical moment, it would definitely be like the premiere of that movie, of Your Name. But like the Socrates thing is also very cool. Sorry about that tangent. So if you're not historically inclined like I am, find things that you're very interested in and then just look at the timeline of those things and try to pick significant dates from those things and spin them so they sound really fun. If you're like me, this essay may just take a little bit of time to come up with a good idea for. So the next essay prompt is what 5 words best describe you? Unfortunately, I did not actually put I just want a girlfriend. I put internal growth over external gain. I know a lot of people just write 5 like distinct adjectives to describe who they are, but like I honestly couldn't think of like 5 adjectives, and I always thought that like making a 5-word phrase would be much cooler and just sound a lot nicer in my mind than just coming up with the 5 different words. Like I know a lot of people that just wrote 5 words, and that's totally cool. But to me, I always thought it was just slightly cooler and slightly more fun to write like a 5-word phrase. And the internal growth over external gain is something that I genuinely like try to live by. If you watch my TED Talk, you know I talk a lot about how, like, a lot of the times when I try to do things, I try to make sure that the things I'm doing are making me grow internally. Like, either I'm becoming more courageous or more disciplined, rather than focusing on what doing this thing will get me, like whether or not it will get me into Stanford or like Harvard or like get a job or money or whatever accolades I could get. When the choice is yours, what do you read, listen to, or watch? 50-word limit. So before I read this one, I'm just gonna explain how I kind of arrived at what I did. I looked at a bunch of websites online about how to write this essay, and a lot of people kind of just made lists where you kind of just write like, oh, I read, list of books, watch, list of TV shows. Like, I know a lot of people did that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but like, legitimately the only reason I did not do that is because I like tried to format it and like make the list out, and I typed it out, and no matter how I formatted it, it just did not at all look aesthetically pleasing to me. Like, I just hated the way all of these lists looked like when I typed them. So I'm like, I don't want to write this. So I kind of just chose one thing to write about, and then I just wrote a 50-word thing about that thing. Okay, I'm just gonna read my essay and it'll make a lot more sense. I grew up watching anime. With rapt attention, I watched Naruto and Luffy earnestly strive to become Hokage or King of the Pirates through countless hardships. Their courage, love, and ambitions molded me. Despite weird looks, I still watch anime, finding new pieces of myself in the heroes I admire. So like the weeb I am, I decided to write about anime because anime honestly has had like a pretty huge impact on my life. So I just thought it'd be really cool to write about that. I don't know if I recommend this because I haven't seen a lot of other people do it, but it's something that I really enjoyed writing. So if you have something that you really enjoy, like maybe one book that had like, or movie or TV show that like had a really, really big impact on you, and you just want to write about that, maybe you should do that. Maybe you shouldn't. I realize now that saying maybe you should or maybe you shouldn't is awful advice. But this is just what I did, and I really enjoyed the essay that I wrote. And so honestly, my biggest piece of advice is to just enjoy what you write. So the next essay prompt is, name one thing you're looking forward to experiencing at Stanford. 50-word limit. Taking the Thinking Matters course will place me in a class that, for the first time, will not revolve around bullet points on a screen, but rather active discussions guided by my own questions. Sitting alongside students that share my inquisitive mind, I will eagerly strive to gain a deeper understanding of our world. So I'm not gonna lie, I knew very, very little about Stanford before applying to Stanford. My knowledge of Stanford was pretty much that it was in California, it was really good at computer science, and it was near Silicon Valley. I watched RP Park's videos and some of the Calf Path's videos, but mainly the ones about college essays. And I had seen Stanford in like the small amount of scenes in High School Musical 3 where Gabriella goes to Stanford. But other than that, I knew and still know very, very little about Stanford. I just went onto Stanford's website and tried to find something that was like really special and unique to Stanford. And this is like honestly just one of the first things I came across. And it's not like that doesn't sound cool to me. Like the Thinking Matters course sounds alright. It sounds fine. Like I'm excited to take it. But it's not like I knew a crap ton about Stanford before writing this essay. So if you don't know a lot about your school or about Stanford, don't freak. You can always just go online and try to find something small and niche about this school. So the next essay prompt is, imagine you had an extra hour in the day. How would you spend that time? 50-word limit. In a world that is constantly telling us to do more, little time remains for us to simply exist. With an extra hour, I would sprawl out in my hammock, taking in the fresh air, listening to my Chill Vibes playlist, and gazing at the shattered sunlight through the leaves. I also really like this essay. For this one, I actually came up with 2 responses. So the first one was that one that I just read. It's the one that I ended up submitting. Honestly, like writing that I wanted to like go out there and change the world or like learn a language or do something really insane with like an extra hour a day seemed kind of ingenuine because like I already work more than hard enough. Realistically, if I had an extra hour a day, I probably would not do anything too insane with it. Honestly, sitting in my hammock and listening to music for an hour a day sounds like a very delightful time. That sounds awesome. The other essay I wrote was, I'll just read it. I also really like this one. While I love devouring the romantic fantasies of others, the 18th rung of my bucket list reads, write my own young adult romance novel. With an extra hour, I would write my own teenage romance. Not the novel that the world desperately needs, but rather one that fulfills my teenage fantasies. So I really, really considered turning that one in, but a lot of my friends just told me that they liked the other one better, and like I liked both of them equally, so I thought it didn't really matter, so I just turned in the other one. For this essay, I really wanted to show Stanford that I had like more side to myself than just learning and reading and like just working really hard. So I wanted to show that I just had other parts of my personality. The last 3 essay prompts are kind of longer. They're like 250 words. So the Stanford community is deeply curious and driven to learn in and out of the classroom. Reflect on an idea or an experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning. 100 to 250 words. Is there a God? Growing up in a secular household, the thought of an omnipotent being watching me from a kingdom in the clouds sounded as ridiculous as catching Santa Claus climbing down my non-existent chimney on Christmas Eve. That remained my stance until I met Noman, my best friend and a devout Muslim. Noman was not only open to discussing his religion, but he also challenged my views on religion. Through the years, endless hours have passed as we debated various topics related to the existence of God. Pascal's wager, Russell's teapot, and the origins of morality. While, unsurprisingly, we reached no definitive conclusions about the existence of God, Noman did show me something equally important. My innate bias. I would instinctively reject any idea that failed to fit my predetermined worldview. I realized my thoughts were a byproduct of my own subjective experience, not of independent critical thinking. This led me to a new question. Why do you believe what you believe? I began asking myself and others questions that I never asked before. Is there really an objective meaning to our lives? Is truth inherently valuable? Are hot dogs sandwiches? Now, I eagerly seek out people who see the world in completely different ways, and I love every single second of talking to them. Through it all, I morphed my worldview from a static cage to a dynamic landscape that continuously evolves as I learn more about the world. So, for this one, I don't know what to say other than the fact that, like I really, really, really like talking about religion. Yeah, me and my friend talk about religion all the time. Like, we talk about religion probably more than we talk about girls, which is a lot. So I don't like it. Just we talked about religion a lot. I honestly don't know what advice to give you other than like pick an idea that you genuinely are very interested in. Yeah. So the next essay prompt is virtually all of Stanford's undergraduates live on campus. That did not age very well. Okay. Virtually all of Stanford's undergraduates live on campus. Write a note to your future roommate that reveals something about you or that will help your roommate and us get to know you better. 100 to 250 words. What's your biggest fear? Singing and dancing in public? Let's grab my speaker and go throw a dance party. Heights? Let's go skydiving this weekend. Talking to cute girls or guys? Let's go talk to the most attractive person on campus. Let's do something crazy. Maybe I'm moving a little fast. My name is Alex Lee. I am an introvert by nature, but through a lot of effort, I have become much more extroverted, to the point where you might mistake me for one. Despite this, I cannot live without my alone time, which I normally spend binging David Dobrik vlogs, devouring young adult romance novels, and watching the season's latest anime. If you think watching anime is weird, do not worry, I will make sure to have us sprinting down the halls, Naruto style, in no time. While some may consider me a bit impulsive, I simply consider myself receptive to life's opportunities. Whether it be midnight trips to Waffle House, spontaneously deciding to binge the High School Musical trilogy, or grabbing friends to watch the sunrise at 5 a.m. Anyways, this is probably our first time living away from our parents, at Stanford of all places. So let's explore this unknown frontier together. In the next 4 years, I hope we can create amazing memories so that on graduation day, when we are standing in our caps and gowns, I can glance over at you and whisper, with a smile plastered on my face, remember that time we... So, in a lot of my essays, I try to come off as really intellectual and like just really hardworking and smart. And in this one, I just wanted to come off as a person that really, really enjoys having really cool experiences. I try to be very spontaneous and like, hey, let's go do this really cool thing. I consider myself a person that just wants different life experiences. And so I try as much as I can to just actively pursue different experiences. And so I just wanted to include in at least one of my essays, portray this side of myself that I feel like is not at all portrayed in my other essays. Like, I think in a lot of my essays, I come off as just like kind of stuck up and like very like intellectual and like five head, but I just wanted to come off as someone that really, really likes to have fun. And like the ending of the essay is probably one of my favorite things that I've ever written, because it gives you like that, like the mental image of like the montage starting of like all the cool times you had together and like play the background music. I can't stress enough how much you want to show different aspects of your personalities in your essay, because these essays are how the admissions officer gets to know you, so make sure you show different parts of yourself for the different essays. So the last supplemental essay is tell us about something that is meaningful to you and why. 100 to 250 words. Dear Westlock Meditation Center, home. No word better describes where I've spent every summer for the last 7 years. From the construction of the meditation hall to the 43-foot golden Buddha statue, I have watched you grow up as I grew up alongside you. Through countless Dharma talks and meditation sessions, I cultivated the ability to still my mind, allowing my transient thoughts and anxieties to slowly pass. While life continuously brings new sources of stress, I know I can always fall back to the practice of meditation, recognizing my breath and returning myself to the present moment. For those lessons, I am thankful, but I am most thankful to you for giving me a second family, the Westlock Wastemen. From the friends I met 7 years ago to the friends I met this year, I formed bonds that will last a lifetime. Whether it be our games of werewolf that leave us howling with laughter, our soul-bonding bathroom parties, or our quiet conversations on our freezing tents at 2 in the morning, I treasured every single moment with them. Words cannot describe the sense of belonging I feel surrounded by this community. For them, I am grateful because I did not know how to love unconditionally until they showed me. And to you, I am grateful for giving me a home to grow up alongside the ones I love. While I have left for now, I will always find my way back home. Love, Alex. So for this one, I figured it would just be kind of cool to write it kind of in the format of a letter. If you know me literally at all, there's almost no way that you have not heard me talk about the fact that I go to Canada almost every single summer to hang out with my friends and to go to like this Buddhist retreat thing. It has had such a huge impact on my life, and like the people I've met there are literally some of my best friends. I could not have imagined living without having gone there. It was just such an integral part of me becoming who I currently am that I felt like it was just really important to write about, at least somewhere on my application, and thankfully I found the perfect place to write about it. No matter what I wrote for this one, you are going to write about something completely different, and that's obviously very okay. I'd be very, very weirded out if you wrote about the exact same thing as me, because obviously you have not been there. But I really hope you can find something that you just really genuinely care about, and then just talk about that thing. I really, really like reading Stanford's supplemental essays, especially like the answers that just different students have. If you are writing Stanford supplemental essays, please DM them to me at Axel_Lee. This is my Instagram handle. I really, really like reading these. Like, I won't charge you any money to look at them. I just want to read them, not so that I can help you, but so that I just like reading them. I can't promise I'll give any feedback, but like, I just like reading these, so I would appreciate the opportunity to read them. If people sent me them, that would be really cool. So anyways, those were my Stanford supplemental essays. I had a really fun time writing them. I really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to them. This is the last video I will make about getting into Stanford, so don't expect me at all to become like a college YouTuber or anything like that. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys next time.